The World Health Organization chief on Friday called on vaccine makers to share technologies to help boost production, warning that without more access to the Covid-19 jabs, progress against the pandemic could be lost. Tedros Adhanom told reporters the number of Covid-19 vaccines administered had now overtaken the well over 100 million reported infections around the world. While this was good news, he expressed concern that more than three-quarters of the vaccines had been administered in just 10 wealthy countries.
Globally, the number of vaccinations has now overtaken the number of reported infections. In one sense, that's good news and a remarkable achievement in such a short time frame. But more than three-quarters of those vaccinations are in just 10 countries that account for almost 60% of global GDP. We need countries to share doses once they have finished vaccinating health workers and older people. But we also need a massive scale-up in production. Unless we suppress the virus everywhere, we could end up back at square one.
Libyan delegates at UN-led talks outside Geneva on Monday made the surprise choice of Abdul Hamid Deiba as Prime Minister of a transitional unity government to take the war-ravaged country through to elections in December. He was chosen along with a three-member presidency council to head a unity administration and steer the North African state towards the ballot box on December 24th. Deiba, a Canadian-trained engineer from the city of Misrata and founder of the Libya of the Future movement, previously led the Libyan Investment and Development Company under dictator Muammar Gaddafi. The vote is part of a complex UN-led process aiming to build on a fragile ceasefire and end more than a decade of conflict. Oil-rich Libya has been torn by civil war since a NATO-backed uprising led to the toppling and killing of Gaddafi in 2011. Acting UN envoy Stephanie Williams, who facilitated the week-long talks outside Geneva, called it a historic moment. Myanmar saw its largest anti-coup protests yet on Saturday, with young demonstrators spilling onto the streets to denounce the country's new military regime, despite a nationwide internet blackout aimed at stifling a growing chorus of popular dissent. As many as 1,000 demonstrators marched on a road near Yangon University, most holding up the three-finger salute that has come to symbolize resistance to the army takeover. A large police contingent blocked nearby roads with two water cannon trucks parked at the scene. The march came as Myanmar was plunged into its second nationwide internet blackout this week, similar in magnitude to an earlier shutdown that coincided with the arrest of Sun Kyi and other senior leaders on Monday. Those dawn raids brought a sudden halt to Myanmar's brief 10-year experiment with democracy and catalyzed an outpouring of fury that has migrated from social media to the streets. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Friday called the International Criminal Court a political body after it said it had jurisdiction over the situation in the occupied Palestinian territories. The tribunal has once again proved that it is a political body and not a judicial institution, and that's what Netanyahu had to say verbatim in a statement, adding that the decision undermined the, and I quote, right of democracies to defend themselves against terrorism. The ICC's ruling Friday paves the way for the tribunal's prosecutor to potentially open a war crimes investigation. Palestine is a state party to the court set up in 2002 to try the world's worst crimes, but Israel is not. Prosecutor Fatou Bensouda had asked the court for its legal opinion on whether its reach extended to areas occupied by Israel after announcing in December of 2019 that she wanted to start a full probe. The ICC said in a statement it had, and I quote again, decided by majority that the court's territorial jurisdiction in the situation situation in Palestine, a state party to the ICC Rome Statute, extends to the territories occupied by Israel since 1967, namely Gaza and the West Bank, including East Jerusalem.